Caloroga Shark Media.
Tomorrow on this program, Jason Zinnemann from the New York Times and I talk comedy for an hour. That one is really good. Check that out. Sunday, Dad's treating himself to Father's Day. We'll take a look at the best specials of the year so far. Some leftover jokes from the week. Seth Meyers really crushed it. He made fun of Trump's rally last week, saying on Sunday, Trump held his first large rally since his guilty verdict, where he laid out a detailed policy plan to tackle the nation's challenges. And I'm just kidding. He screamed about teleprompters, batteries, and sharks. More from Seth. Former President Trump told the crowd he was sweating like a dog, and he was immediately shot by Kristi Noem. Trump is no longer allowed to associate with other convicted felons. Seth said, you know who this is really bad news for? His family. Now he's going to have to spend more time with them. Melania is so worried about this, she's probably going to knock over a liquor store in broad daylight just so she can have a rap sheet. Jimmy Fallon said things got off to a rough start when Trump offered his parole officer $130,000. Some Asian American organizations have asked Bud Light and Netflix to drop Shane Gillis as a representative of their brand because of his insensitivity and hurtful remarks towards the Asian American community. The groups include the Chinese American Citizens Alliance Los Angeles, the Japanese American Citizens League Greater Los Angeles, the Anti-Asian Hate Coalition of Southern California, and the Media Action Network for Asian Americans. The founder of the MANAA says, we've gotten beaten up long enough. We got sick and tired of this. Try saying the N-word and see what happens. If you comedians think we're being unreasonable, do the substitution test. Substitute Asian with black or Jewish and see if you feel comfortable. If you feel uncomfortable, maybe you shouldn't have done it against us. He notes some native-born Asian Americans say, it's comedy, just try to laugh it off and give excuses for it, and they're giving permission for more of that kind of treatment. In episode 3 of Shane Gillis' Tires, an Asian father and daughter come in and speak Mandarin Chinese, and later, the owner in Tires, Will, also speaks passable Mandarin. There are no attempts to speak pretend Chinese. In the same episode of Tires, Shane Gillis imitates Japanese, but sounds more like a grunting samurai than somebody speaking Japanese. From Fox News, Bill Burr called out the hypocrisy of liberals during a show at UC Berkeley last weekend, reportedly telling the audience that he effing hates them. Oh no. According to Fox, Burr told the audience, I effing hate liberals. It is believed he was referring specifically to white liberals. He also had some comments about people who put Black Lives Matter signs on their windows without taking any actual actions. Burr apparently said, it's like if I tell you my great-grandmother in Germany had a knock it off Nazi sign. If you run into a white person who says they're an empath, run the other way. Burr said such people like making other people suffering about themselves. Keith Robinson's special came out on Netflix on Tuesday. It's called Different Strokes. After suffering 2 strokes, Keith was able to make it back to the stage. He tells the Philly Tribune, I wasn't going to quit doing something I love so much. I always wanted to be a comedian, and I intend to continue just doing that. Born and raised in Philadelphia, he chimes, don't forget to say South Philly. I love making people laugh and love to watch all the comics of the day, although I didn't know how to bring that all together. One day, a friend of mine gave me a song by a gospel singer that talked about why we should stop just dreaming and doing something to make those dreams come true. While reading the want ads, that's a phrase I haven't heard in a while. While reading the want ads, I saw an ad for a gig at a comedy club and decided to give it a try. In 1993, he was on Ed McMahon's Star Search. Remember that? When's the last time you thought of that? He did not win. He did make it to the finals. Keith says, that was a great boost to my ego. I'd always wanted to be a comic, and at that point, I felt like I had made it. I think comedy and making people laugh is the greatest job in the world. I have the freedom to say anything I want to say. In fact, I could say my comedy is my drug of choice. Actually, I get high on comedy. Well, Deacon Mike let me down because I'm here in the basement and not at Vatican City with 100 comedians. Thanks, Mike. You know, it would have been nice to cover. Could have asked Jim Gaffigan about his bourbon. I'm sure he would have loved talking about it. Anyway, the Pope's hanging out today with Fallon and Colbert and Conan O'Brien and Chris Rock and Whoopi Goldberg. What did I say the other day? Like 67 comedians from Italy, that burgeoning Italian stand-up scene that we don't talk too much about. The Irish Times wrote about it, and they said, we imagine the crack in the Vatican green room. Time out, time out, time out. If you are not familiar with the Irish slang crack, neither was I in the early 90s when I was hanging around with a lot of people from Ireland. They were like, hey, you want to go get some crack? And I'd be like, no. Again, this is New York City in like 1993. Crack was crack cocaine. To the Irish, crack, C-R-A-I-C, is good fun. So lest you think the Pope is doing crack with Stephen Colbert, he is not. He may be having crack with Conan O'Brien, or perhaps drinking Father Time bourbon with Jim Gaffigan, and just even the Pope losing all his coolness. I digress. The Irish Times wrote about some of the Irish comedians going, not some of them, all of them, 3 of them. Ardal O'Hanlon, you know him from Father Ted. Have you ever seen Father Ted? Father Ted is fantastic. Ardal fronted a documentary this year about the crisis in the priesthood. He said, I have renounced my God and my religion, yet I still ask a Catholic priest to come along and baptize my child. Am I a hypocrite? In interviews, he said at one point he thought of joining the priesthood himself, but it was not a real thing for him. Tommy Tiernan is open about his faith and speaks about going to Mass regularly. Deacon Mike's going to like today's episode. You know, Deacon Mike, this episode could have been really about Catholicism if somebody had hooked something up. Just saying. Tiernan says, I'd probably love to go to Mass every day if I could, actually. It's funny where you end up. I would consider myself pro-choice and Catholic, so that's a constant negotiation between the independence of your mind, the realities of your heart, and a man-made organization that is the church. But the experience of being at Mass, I don't know what it is. I don't know all the prayers, but I love it. It's a community thing, I think. Eric Idle's got a new one-man show. It's called Always Look on the Bright Side of Life Live. It starts on the West Coast this September. Written and performed entirely by Eric. Audiences will be treated to never-before-seen sketches, original songs, jokes, and the humorous wisdom that comes with being a living legend. Tickets go on sale today, 10 a.m. local time, September 4th, Santa Barbara, then San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Salt Lake, Denver, Phoenix, Santa Fe, LA, 927 in San Diego. I gotta stop waiting 5 days to watch John Oliver so that I know what's going on. Apparently, Oliver extended a challenge to a Kingston bakery, and the bakery responded with a new line of cakes bearing a photo of John Oliver's face on edible candy paper. Peter Daysing is the co-owner of Daysing's Bakery and Restaurant in Kingston, says, we're really speechless here. On the June 2nd episode of Last Week Tonight. All right, I've had a week and a half to watch it. I'm behind, apparently. In a segment highlighting the downfall of Red Lobster, John Oliver announced he had purchased all of the contents of the Red Lobster chain's Ulster County location through an online auction and recreated the Red Lobster in his studio. Soon after the Red Lobster closed, Eric posted a note on the front door asking to buy a flat grill and convection oven if available, and later learned that John Oliver had already bought it all. Oliver made the Daysings an offer. The good news is we're willing to buy those items for you on one condition. All I want in return is a baked good with my face on it on sale in your bakery, specifically a cake bear with my face on it. I want to be a cake bear. Oliver said, I don't like cake bears. I effing love cake bears. Daysings cake decorator Jenna Ice. Is her real name Jenna Ice? That's amazing. Jenna Ice says, I can't believe this is real life right now. I thought it was hilarious. It had me laughing pretty good. The cakes are selling for $8. All the proceeds will go to People's Place Food Pantry in Kingston. A representative from Last Week Tonight expected the grill to arrive this week. Gabriel Iglesias back on Gossip Corner in San Antonio, out for food again, this time at Garcia's Mexican Food. He apparently hung out with the owners and had some tacos. A lot less fun, a court in Indonesia has handed a comedian a 7-month prison sentence for blasphemy. Aulur Rahman made a joke about the name Muhammad. The comedian was imprisoned after being reported under a blasphemy law that carries a maximum sentence of 5 years. The law forbids anyone from making statements at odds with one of Indonesia's 6 official religions or trying to prevent someone from adhering to one of those religions. A spokesperson for the prosecutor's office said the defendant admitted and regretted his actions, behaved politely at the trial, and the defendant has never been convicted. The aggravating factor was the defendant's actions have disturbed society. 7 months. Seems there's a brouhaha going over in the UK at the Latitude Festival. It is a music festival. Apparently some comedians perform there as well. Some celebrities will be there. David Duchovny, Rick Astley, Duran Duran, Keane. On the comedy side, comedians Sophie Ducker, Grace Campbell, and Alexander Haddo have pulled out of Latitude Festival in protest over sponsor Barclays' ties to the Israel-Hamas war. Also pulling out Joanne McNally and Alexander Haddo, both comedians. McNally said on social media, I'm no longer doing Latitude. I was due to close the comedy tent on the Sunday night, but I pulled out last week. I'm on the old artwork, but I haven't been listed on the site since I pulled out a week ago. Jason Signs is performing at the Lyric Hyperion Theater in L.A. He tells the story of falling through a skylight onto a flight of stairs and shares the realities of being a paraplegic in Hollywood. His show is called The Wheel World. The comedian shares his struggles with grief, adapting to changes in wheelchair accessibility, accepting limitations in his new body, his wheelchair-bound TV roles, and altering his perception of sex and manhood. Tonight at 7:30 if you're out in L.A. And that is your comedy news for today. Again, tomorrow, Jason Cinnamon and I for an hour. Sunday, best specials of the year, little Father's Day, foot off the gas. But tomorrow's really awesome. I'm dealing straight. Tomorrow's awesome. Sunday is, Sunday filler. Holiday filler. It's summer. See you tomorrow.